Malaysia Day. It marks the date in 1963 when the states of Sarawak and Sabah on the island of Borneo joined with Malaya to form the Federation of Malaysia. It was made a nationwide holiday for the first time this year, a symbolic gesture to two of Malaysia's most underprivileged states. Prime Minister Najib Razak said his government is determined to raise living standards in Sarawak and Sabah up to the levels enjoyed in the rest of Malaysia. It's a goal in keeping with Najib's policy dubbed One Malaysia, to create a more inclusive, equitable, meritocratic and efficient country, one where ethnic Malays and other indigenous groups, as well as the Chinese and Indian communities, think of themselves as Malaysian first.
Let every single Malaysian realize his or her fullest potential, irrespective of race. That we maximize diversity as a strategic asset for our nation going forward.
It's not going to be easy. Since 1970, an affirmative action policy has aimed to narrow the economic gap between Malays and non-Malays, especially ethnic Chinese. And while it has helped substantially reduce poverty and nurture a large Malay middle class, it's also been prone to inefficiencies and abuses. The affirmative action policy is credited with preventing ethnic tensions from boiling over. But over time, it has bred resentment among non-Malays, contributed to a brain drain, and made Malaysia less competitive.
The Prime Minister says that he wants to see an end to all kinds of these prejudices, to bring down the walls of suspicion.
About the schools, but
At a recent seminar on the One Malaysia policy, people debated how best to break down racial
to
barriers.
understand the other culture.
Again, we need to nurture political parties who are non-race and non-religion based.
The question should ask is no longer who is to blame. I think we should ask what to do.
We've done it before.
The top concern was an education system in which most Chinese and Indians opt to send their children to vernacular schools, teaching in their mother tongues, rather than national schools teaching in Malay.
You are bringing up issues that have arisen over a long, long period of time. Finding a solution is going to be overnight, but the first port of call is to debate. And I think these forums and a lot of what's been happening is a natural maturing of the society to be able to debate.
The Prime Minister's One Malaysia push and economic reform agenda have helped drive his personal approval ratings to above 70%, though his party and government lag well behind that.
If we look at the reform agenda, it's a motherhood issue. A lot of people support it. I would say the vast majority of Malaysians support, recognize the need for change and support what the Prime Minister says he wants to do.
But he's running into resistance from some ethnic Malays, most notably a right-wing group called Perkasa. Its interaction with Malaysia's governing alliance is in some ways analogous to the Tea Party's uneasy relationship with the Republican Party in the US. Perkasa opposes Najib's efforts to move from an affirmative action program based strictly on race to one based far more on needs, and it touts a continuation of what it calls Malay supremacy. Many believe Najib needs to rein these people in.
You can do it subtly, you can do it quietly, you can do it behind the scenes, you can advise them, you can tell them, look, if you are going too far, if you go beyond this threshold, you are undermining national unity.
While the Malay right attacked the Prime Minister for pushing too far and too fast, the opposition accuse him of not moving fast enough, a criticism he rejects.
It is work in progress. It is journey. It is a transformation. But what we can do, what we can put right, we will put right. But let this be a journey towards a full realization of One Malaysia. With the full commitment of all Malaysians, we will get to the ultimate objective.
Many see the goal of forging a more united Malaysia not just as a social imperative, but also an economic one.
It's a seismic shift. And so, it takes a lot of courage, and I applaud the Prime Minister for taking that step. It's up to the leadership as to the pace, how fast, how he balances up the right, the left, etc. It's a complicated mix.
The electorate is becoming more sophisticated now. They're looking at just beyond the man. They want to look at institutions, they want to look at policy, and more importantly, they want to see how things get implemented.
Najib's government should go a long way toward answering those questions in the next couple of weeks, as it unveils the details of its economic transformation program, aimed at attracting hundreds of billions of dollars of new private investment, and tables its budget, revealing the concrete steps it plans to take to kickstart that transformation. And if One Malaysia goes as planned, it should create not only a more unified, multicultural society, but also a more competitive Malaysia in an ever more competitive world economy.